Hey guys, I fooled you once again. You might remember I did this last year with Shrek Retold. Now I'm doing it with Sonic Rebuilt. Just gives me an opportunity to talk about a lot of things I want to talk about, and at the same time tricking you. Trick you once, shame on me. Trick you twice, you've been April Fooled. So, what I want to talk about, Sonic Rebuilt, obviously. I have a lot to say, a lot of wisdom I want to impart on you. The topics I want to talk about, I wrote notes, so I'm organized this time. If you haven't watched the other video, you should watch it because I say a lot of things. I want to cover new topics this time around, so you should definitely check that out. A link will be in the description, so you can watch in any order you want. I don't care. So what I want to talk about is how and why this project got started, why I chose Sonic, how we ran the project, me and Garfield. I'll talk about him in a second. And advice I have both for people that want to run a project like this and for people that want to participate in projects like this. The birds are going crazy. Spring just started. And what I learned now doing this twice. So let's get into it. All right, the first topic is how/why this project started. So basically, last year I had the idea to give Sonic the Shrek Retold treatment because I really liked that project. I really liked working on it, and caught it. First mosquito of the year. Sorry, buddy. So yeah, there was a trailer for Sonic that came out last year, and that kind of put that idea in my mind. Because when I think Sonic, I always think of the Sonic OVA from the 90s, which I watched in the 90s when I was little. I was at my cousin's house, and they had it on VHS, and we watched it, and I was thoroughly entertained by it. And every time I was at his house, past that point, I always wanted to watch it, but they couldn't find it. So I never saw it again, but it always stayed in the back of my mind as like the definitive Sonic movie. You know what I mean? So when the Sonic Hollywood movie, they started releasing trailers and stuff, I kept thinking about that, and I searched it out. I saw it was on YouTube, and I decided that would be a fun one to redo because I really like the animation in it. There's a lot of beautiful imagery and crazy locations and characters that would be fun to do that with. But I was also I knew I didn't have the time to do it. But this guy, Garfield, the Monday Killer, as he's known on Discord, he entered the 3GI Discord and he was showing me some stuff he worked on. For example, the one thing that really impressed me was he made he downloaded the Mama Luigi reanimated collab, which is awesome, and he redid the audio for it. So he added his own voice to the characters and redid all the sound effects and stuff, and it was really good. I was really impressed by it. So he always stayed in the back of my mind as somebody that could potentially help me with a project like this. So I contacted him, and I was like, Garfield, could you download this movie and divide it up by shot and create a spreadsheet that kind of has the shots linked, so you could pick one and choose it, and also in that same document you could mark off the people who are participating in it. And you can see that if you go to the Sonic Rebuilt video, you can look at that spreadsheet. It's in the description. And he was able to do that, so I was further impressed because that's a really tedious thing to do that. So thank you, Garfield. I know I gave you thanks in the last video, but you deserve it. And then the next step was, getting people to jump on board. So not only did Garfield organize the project, but he also coordinated it. Because what I did is I did a mass email to everyone who participated on Shrek Retold and said, hey, I'm doing another project like this. Send an email. And that's going into advice, but I'd create a separate email for these kind of projects. Otherwise, it might get a little crazy. It's just nice to have it all in one place. So we created a Gmail account just for the project. I told people that worked on Shrek Retold, go to Garfield at this email address, and he will get you hooked up with the scene. And he did. He sent, people the list, let them choose a shot, and he got them hooked up. And I just kind of hopped in once he started getting everyone situated and opened it up to the public, more so than I did with Shrek Retold. And that's another thing that this project kind of symbolized to me, because Shrek 2 Retold is happening, but I didn't jump on board right away. I didn't start it because I was kind of traumatized by that experience, just in the amount of just how involved it was. So that going into more advice, work with a partner. But with Sonic Rebuilt, it was such a freeing project to me. It was more experimental and a lot freer than Shrek 2 Retold would have been in my mind, because I think there was a lot of expectations that were created with Shrek Retold, and I kind of just wanted to do a little something more experimental in the meantime, something with a different flavor. And that's also why I used the original audio, because I knew it wouldn't get copy striked, because that movie's uploaded multiple times on YouTube, so I saw there wasn't an issue with that, and I just wanted to do something that had like a slightly different flavor. So that's a big reason why I used the original audio, and I think with using the original audio, it freed me up to separate this project by shot, because it would have been too insane to have this movie be remade shot for shot with people redoing the audio, because people's dialogue carried over from, you know what I mean? There wasn't logical, it would have been too crazy to do that. So having the continuous soundtrack throughout it freed us to do it shot for shot, which I was excited to do. Is just, is a freeing experience. Is a lot more experimental in nature. Oh, and also I said I opened up. So initially I reached out to people that worked on Shrek Retold, and they filled about half the shots up, maybe like 60%. And then I opened it up to the public, which was way more random people than Shrek Retold, because I wanted to get goofy with it. You know what I mean? Reaching out to just strangers is a high risk, high reward situation. You meet a lot of interesting people that way, a lot of diamonds in the rough. And so about, like, I'd say around 50% of that project was total new acquaintances, which is a big risk, like one that I guess I wouldn't take on Shrek 2 Retold. So that's why I like Sonic Rebuilt. It was just very wild. You know what I mean? There's no expectations of what it should be, and I was just able to do something, I guess, in the same vein but completely different, which I really enjoy doing. Now, how we ran the project, which was basically pretty much how we ran Shrek Retold, but this time I had Garfield helping me. So yeah, like I said, Garfield got everyone initially hooked up with the scene, and that's the first hurdle. That's a big thing when I talk to people about this project. There's one hurdle in particular, and if you can do that, you can do this project. So the preliminary work is obviously choose a movie, figure out how you're going to divide it. Shrek Retold was divided by scenes, or really beats, which I talk about in the last year's April Fool's video, Shrek 2 Retold, which is, it's not actually divided by shot. I initially did that, and it came around to like 30 scenes or 35 scenes total in Shrek. But those parts were too long. They're like 5 or 6 minutes. And it was better to divide it by shot, or by beat. So that's like when there's an emotional shift in the middle of a scene, you can switch to it. There's just logical breakpoints you can move to, and I talk about it more in that video. But for this, I want to do something different, so we did it by shot, and that's what these projects, a lot of the projects on YouTube do, and it has a totally different feel. I really like it. So that means it gets a little more complicated because you potentially have more people on board with that. So get it all divided, figure out how you're going to divide it, whether it's shot or by scene or beat, and then get every scene claimed. And this is where the momentum really kicks in, and I talk about that a lot in the last video. Is momentum is going to be your best friend in these kind of projects, constantly pushing you forward, but keep the excitement going, build excitement, and that helps move you forward. Have a part of the day, maybe it's the first thing you do when you make your coffee in the morning, is you go through emails or spreadsheets and get that and work on the project just a little every day. So the first hurdle is getting every single piece, whether it's shot or scene, get everything claimed. If you can do that, then it's really downhill from there. It's still very tedious, intensive, hard work, but if you can just get everything claimed, then that's the biggest hurdle. You're in the clear basically. So reach out to a ton of people, because most people aren't going to reply to your emails or be interested in the project. So reach out. If you have 200 shots to fill, reach out to 1,000. That sounds about right. And I don't expect you to reach out to them all in the same day, but try to set up like a week. Like, this is the week I get this all filled up, because it also motivates people to choose a scene. If you say, oh, they're going fast, and that's what you want. You want the shots to be taken up pretty fast. And also, what we did with this project that was really helpful is created a standby list, where when we opened it to the public and people started to say, oh, could I get a scene? Once all the shots were taken, then I created a standby list where I started to add people to the standby list, because people will drop out. That is a certainty that people will drop out. So with the standby list, as soon as somebody drops out, you can get somebody in on that shot immediately, which helps. Got to keep that momentum going. And I'm always curious how other people run their projects. So whenever I get a lot of invitations to other people's projects, and I've never jumped on board with one yet, because there's nothing really that caught my eye. But I always ask to see their documents. I'm always very curious in that, because I want to see how they have it. And I'm yet to see somebody who has a document where you can click, where they have the scenes listed. A lot of people have the documents where they have all the scenes listed and the time code of where that scene happens in the movie, but they don't have it so you can click it and watch it. I think they expect you to secure a copy of the movie on your own and reference the sheet, but I don't think that's a good way to do it. I think you should have it set up where people can watch the clips that are mentioned in the document within the document, and that's how we do it. When we divide the movie, we have all those shots uploaded to a Google Drive, so you can click the scene and see, do I want this? Because if somebody does decide they want to do that shot, they're going to want to download it. You know what I mean? To reference it if they're doing live action, or to animate over it. They need to be able to have that. So you can't expect someone to secure their own copy of the material. I think you're missing out on a lot of potential collaborators if you do that. You should always cater towards the collaborator. I'm really hungry. Let's move inside for a second. I gotta make food. All right, next topic is advice, and I'll start with advice for people that want to do a project like this. The first thing I'd say is to use Discord. If you don't know what Discord is, or if you're not familiar with it, I'm gonna make a burrito, by the way, while I'm talking. I hope you don't mind. I have like 2 videos I'm trying to get out this week, and I've just, it's been hectic, so bear with me. Plus, this might be fun, it might be kind of cool. I'll make some food while I talk, but I am really hungry. It's 4:20, oh my god, it's 4:20, and I haven't eaten lunch yet. So, Discord, if you're not familiar with Discord, get familiar with it. I didn't know what it was when I started working on Shrek Rebuilt, or sorry, I keep getting them confused. They're both SR, which is kind of weird, but Shrek Retold. But somebody that was on board with the project said a lot of these projects are managed through Discord, so I downloaded it and quickly figured out kind of how it works. But I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar with it. It's basically like a modern day forum. If you remember what forums back in the day, everyone had a forum. Now it all moved to Discord. And the great thing about it is you basically create a chat room where everyone in the project gets to talk to each other. And you can have different channels in that chat room for people to show their work in progress, which I think is really important to, get to see what other people are doing in the project. And then also you can create like a promote yourself channel. And what else should you make? Oh, a channel for submitted pieces that only you, the host, can post in. So people can check out the finished pieces. And it's really common that people participating in the project don't want to see any finished products until the whole movie's done. I think it's kind of funny. But I get that. But as far as communication goes, I think you should communicate through email or whatever you want. But you should have one method to contact people, and I would say email. And this is kind of the last thing I want to talk about is things I've learned, and I'll talk more about that. But one mode of contact is ideal, because with Shrek Retold, I communicated with people through Twitter, through Tumblr, through all these different things, and it got really confusing. And I did have a spreadsheet when I went through and contacted everyone. Which I should talk about that. Contacting people. But I say when you get people on board, you can contact them to get on board through Twitter and Instagram and all these things. But once they want to jump on board, the next thing you should say is, what's your email address? Do communication through email. It's just going to make it easier to keep track of everyone. It really is kind of a no-brainer, but I don't know. I had to figure it out. So once you get people on board, and like I said, that's the first hurdle to get every scene taken. You're going to quickly notice that people are dropping out stuff. So you're going to want to make a spreadsheet that's just for yourself that shows everyone who's on board. Of course, you have the public document where it shows the scene and who has it, and make a column for like their Twitter or their Instagram handle, and also like a personal website they have. But I would definitely have a document just for yourself that has who the person is, that's the collaborator name, their email address, and what scenes they have, obviously, and then a strike system, which I'll talk about in a second. The strike system I developed with Shrek Retold, and that allows you to get these projects done in a timely manner. So, contact everyone through one method, and I'd say that'd be email. I think that's the best. And why do we have a strike system? Because once you pass that first hurdle that I mentioned of getting everyone on board, you're going to want to contact everyone. I do this all the time. I cut the jalapeno, how do you say it? And I touch my nose, and I just did it again. Gotta wash your hands. So yeah, make on that document that shows everyone that's on board, you're going to use that document so that you can contact them on a weekly basis after your first hurdle of getting everyone on board. And you have a column on there that has their strikes, how many strikes they got. I would do a 4-strike system is what I do. So basically, and this is the best advice I'm going to give you, but you contact everyone on a Monday and say, how's it going? How's your scene going? And then on the spreadsheet, you give them a strike. So you work down that list, contacting every single person on that list individually. That's another big thing, and I think I talked about this in the last video. But don't do mass emails when you're trying to collect scenes, because it's easy to hide in those. When you contact somebody individually, it elicits more of a response from them. So you contact everyone individually on Monday, asking how it's going. Maybe remind them when the deadline is. That's another thing. Always set a deadline. Even if a deadline is really not important, you always want deadlines to work with. It just helps. So you have a strike system, a four strikes you're out system, and that's contacting everybody on Monday. They automatically get a strike, and then when they contact you, be it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that strike gets lifted. Now, that means every day you're checking your inbox for people that reply, and when you get a reply from somebody, respond to their message, obviously, but then you erase their strike that's next to their name. Now, when Monday comes around, the next week, go through your list again and do this every week, and you message them, hey, how's it going? How's your scene? Just asking about progress. And then, of course, you're giving them a strike when you reach out to them. I always tear the lettuce off this part in the middle. I hate this part. So, we're on our second week of reaching out to people. You're sending everyone an email. And then you might realize while you're sending out the second email to people, there's people from last week that never responded to your message. That means they now have 2 strikes next to their name. You know what I'm saying? So somebody might get 2 strikes, and then if they end up replying to that email, say, oh, sorry, I didn't see your last email. Then you lift a strike. They still have a strike next to their name because there was a week that went by where they didn't respond to your email. That means that strike stays on their permanent record. Now the benefit of this is that it's quickly obvious who's not responding to their emails. And plus, if you check in somebody on a weekly basis, it creates, emphasis that this is a project that's happening right now. But I wouldn't do the strike system until you pass that first hurdle of getting everybody on board or getting a scene claimed by everyone. And then so after your first month of doing this, 4 weeks, you're gonna have people quickly that have 4 strikes. Now, when I send, if I see somebody has 3 strikes next to their name and I'm sending that 4th email, I'll always mention, hey, I notice you haven't been responding to emails. I'm going to give your shot to somebody else. It's a courtesy to let them know, hey, I'm giving your shot to somebody else. Nothing personal. I just want this project to get done, because that's always your main goal with these. If you're running the collab, get it done, get it done, get it done. Every time you work on this project, it's with that goal in mind. I'm working on it to get it done. And then that's another reason why you make the standby list, is because as soon as you sacrifice somebody's shot, you have somebody that claimed it immediately. And then if that person does get back to you like 2 weeks later or whatever, you say, I'm sorry. And when people don't respond to emails, it's usually because they have a legitimate excuse. That happened a lot of times on Shrek Retold and Sonic Rebuilt, where somebody wasn't responding to messages. I had to give their part to somebody else, and they always had like a legitimate. So don't have negative feelings, because they're probably going through some shit. Some people had some really legitimate responses on Sonic Rebuilt, so no hard feelings. But usually when people are going through shit like that, they don't have time to reach out to you and let you know they can't do your goofy little project, because some serious shit is going down. Stuff don't look good. When does it expire? Oh, it's still good. All right. Oh, the last ingredient. So yeah, that's the strike system. It really comes in handy because it allows you to get these projects done in a timely manner. And I would implement that in your next project. Alrighty, and that's my burrito. Alright, so strike system, the deadline. Oh, talking about a deadline. Alright, hold on. Let's eat this. All right. Oh, fork. So a deadline is important, obviously. You always need a deadline in life. But a great way to visualize that deadline, and this was another good piece of advice, is just listen to the people in the collaboration because they always have good ideas. I'm so sorry I'm eating during this. But an idea they had, I forgot who suggested it, but they said to create like a time bar. So basically how people were curious what percentage done we were. So I want to create a visual way to do that. So every day when we're getting close to the deadline that I created, I would calculate how many people were done with their scene and how many people weren't, and create a percentage, like, oh, we're 50% done, we're 55% done, we're 60% done, just so people could see visually what percent done we were. And I think it makes it exciting. Like every day you want to check in and see like how close we are to finishing the whole project. And it was fun to do. So I did that I did it at the beginning of every day, checked in with my document to see how many people were done. And how I did that is my spreadsheet that said what people were on the project. I had a column that also said if they were done or not. If they were done, I just wrote done. That way on the document, I could do Control F, find how many times the word done was on the document, and then calculate that. Let's say there were 77 instances where the word done was on the spreadsheet. So 77 over how many people were in the project, probably like 240. I can't remember the exact number. So that way I was able to calculate how many people were done. So every day people could check in and see what percentage. And I think that motivated people to finish their scenes because they were actively contributing to that bar going up. It just made it fun. All right. So that was my advice for people running it. Create a Discord for your project. Use email to communicate with people. Create a Gmail account just for that project so you're not cluttering up your main inbox. Implement a 4-strike system. Have a deadline and visually show people how far along the project is because it's fun. Now, my advice for people wanting to participate in these projects. My main one, this might sound weird, but I would say have a solid brand. And let me explain what that means. Basically, it's when communicating from the perspective of an organizer, when communicating to a lot of people, it's really confusing. It can get really confusing, especially when somebody has like an email account that's like deerhunter@gmail.com, and then their name associated with that email account is like Teddy Soap, and then their YouTube channel is called like Tea Mug. It's like, what do I call you? It's so confusing. And then they'll email and be like, oh, could you write me on the spreadsheet as Dishmaster? And it's like, oh my God, what is going on? And it gets really confusing. And for example, this was something really unfortunate that happened with this project, but somebody messaged me and said my piece didn't appear in the film. And we did some sleuthing and found out that they changed their name halfway through production, and they got lost on the spreadsheet. And then also somebody that was either before or after them also did their shot, which is really good. That's something that really happened a lot on this project. People did shots that they weren't signed up for. I don't like way more than Shrek Retold. Shrek Retold, that happened a lot. People would just do shots that they weren't signed up for. But on this one, it was like an absolute free for all. I think because we were moving so fast. But I don't know what was going on. It was anarchy. So have a solid brand. Just make a name that's the name of your YouTube, the name of your Twitter, the name your alias, your moniker, and then also the name of your email. It makes it so easy for the organizer. And how to write an email. Now, I don't know the secrets of writing a good email, but I can tell you what makes it easier for the collaborator. If you're messaging to be a part of something, include examples of your work. It's really pointless to just send an email that says, "Can I work on this?" Include examples of your work. And don't send somebody your YouTube account, because they probably have a lot of emails to look through. So pick like the one video on your YouTube channel that you're proud of. Maybe like one or two. Don't send a list of 10 videos that are like 6 minutes long. That's an hour. They're not going to spend an hour on one email. They probably have 200 emails that they're trying to look through. So if you could send a reel, that would be the best. And what a reel is your best work in like 1 or 2 minutes. That would be ideal. You know what I mean? Just like, boom, this is what I'm capable of. Pow, 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 pow. Here's my contact. All right, sweet. And keep your email short. Keep making it personal is cool. Like, hey man, I know you because of this project, and I really want to get involved. I think what you're doing is great. Here's an example of my work. Can you tell me more about this project? Something like that. It's like 2 or 3 sentences. Perfect. Don't send a paragraph. If you want to send a paragraph, have like 1 or 2 sentences that are separated where it's like, this is the important information. I'm an animator and I want to work on your project. Boom. Now let's say I think this is going to turn a lot of people off that I'm eating. You got to hear all the mouth sounds. Sorry. I got a lot of shit I need to do today. Now let's say you get in on the project. I would say, cool, congratulations. Now work swiftly on it and respond to all emails immediately. And don't overthink it. I think a lot of people, they think about their piece in their head for a long time, and then when they start working on it, their creative vision's all clouded because they have all these expectations for themselves. I try not, unless you are working on the project, don't think about it. When you're driving to the grocery store, just think about driving to the grocery store. When you're taking a shower, just think about how good the water feels on your skin. When you're lying in bed at night, just think about how good it feels to finally be laying down. And then when you're working on your project, then think about your project. And don't create a vision for yourself. Is that bad advice? I don't know. It helps me. Because when I overthink things, when I'm working on a project, and it's like, I'll have this vision in my head, and then I get locked into that vision. And then when I'm working on it, I don't feel creative. Because I feel like I'm trying to follow a formula that I created in my head. So just pick a day that's like, okay, this is the day I finish my submission. This weekend I'm not doing anything. And then just start it with the intent of finishing it. And each day you work on it like you're going to finish it that day. Don't procrastinate. Just get it done. And oftentimes people will be like, here's some ideas I have. Should I do this or should I do that? And I always tell them, just like, which one do you want to do? There's always one idea that's like, I want to do that one. And it's usually because it's a medium that you've always wanted to work in. Or you just think it'd be fun to do. Do the idea that'll be fun to do. And don't put emphasis on being funny. Put emphasis on like creating something cool. You know what I mean? Everybody feels like their part's got to be funny. It doesn't got to be funny. People like to just watch art. You know, like Leonardo da Vinci. He wasn't trying to be funny when he did his paintings. Maybe it was. Maybe Mona Lisa was supposed to be hilarious. But yeah, on these projects, I always tell people don't do memes. Because those get old fast. This just isn't the avenue for it. But yeah, I think the most important thing is, and maybe this goes into advice for people running these projects, is that push your collaborators to focus on the emotion of the scene. If it's a scene where it's like somebody is concerned or scared, dive into that. How are they feeling? You know what I mean? I want to see the fear. Maybe they're happy. Maybe they just experienced a victorious moment. Show them happy. Yeah, just don't put emphasis on being funny. Unless it is a funny scene. That's the thing. With these kind of projects, when the scenes are divided, your scene or your shot is mainly focusing on one reaction. Shock or intrigue. Maybe it's a somber moment, introspective. Maybe it's depressed, sad. Just dive into that. You know what I mean? I want to feel it. That's I think my main advice for people that want to participate in these projects. Have a solid brand where it's like, okay, I am Soda Pop. This isn't actually soda. I don't drink soda. But I am Soda Pop. My email is sodapop@gmail.com. My YouTube is Soda Pop. My YouTube is @SodaPop. My Instagram is whatever. You know what I mean? So in the mind of the collaborator, they see you in their inbox like, oh, that's Soda Pop. They don't think, oh, that's T-Mug, aka Stein, aka Juicer, aka Deerhead. I'm just saying things I see. It gets really confusing. Then when you get in on the project, don't overthink it. Sit down with a fresh mind, work on your scene, and get lost in the emotion of the scene and create from that. Next topic. What I learned. All right, let's get out of the kitchen. Sounds probably not very good in here. All right, guys, thanks for sticking with me. Okay, so what I learned. Number one is, I guess, a no-brainer, but prioritize communication with your partner you are running the collab with. Have like weekly meetings, that would be nice, and then communication with your collaborators, obviously. Let them know what's going on every step of the way. You might not think that's important, but it is, because they are donating their time, energy, and creativity to your project to make it happen, and you owe them constant updates. Let them know what's going on. And even if you think you're being annoying, I actually did something new with Sonic Rebuilt, where I did video updates. I would sit right here like I'm doing now and just explain what was going on with the project, and I felt like that was helpful, because it lets people know like what's going on. Oftentimes people jump on board with projects and then they just like stop. Progress stops, or they stop hearing. If you stop hearing updates about the project, it might as well be dead. So constantly let them know what's going on with it. Let them know that you're working on it and that their efforts aren't in vain. And understand what kind of project you're doing. This was a big thing I learned with this particular project, because I treated it like Shrek Retold, where people I allowed people to just take up as many shots as they wanted, and then when I watched the first cut, I realized it didn't make sense when people had consecutive shots next to each other. In some parts it made sense, but in some parts it didn't make sense. And I realized that from the beginning I should have told people, don't pick consecutive shots, because in post I actually had some people go in and redo when people had consecutive blocks. I had people come in and redo some of the shots sprinkled throughout, so it broke it up, so it changed style more rapidly, because I realized that style fit this project better, where in Shrek Retold it was fine to have people have consecutive scenes next to each other, because that's the kind of project that was. But with this, I realized, oh, this needs to be more rapid fire. Because it's divided by shot, the shots should change more rapidly. So I feel bad, because people worked really hard on a bunch of shots, and I replaced some of them just so there was more variety. So I learned, this is only the second collaboration like this I did, and I realized that each one should be approached a different way. You can't just have one method that you use for each project. Everyone will be a little different and should be a little different. I think I was just focused on getting all the shots claimed, because like I said, that is the biggest hurdle. So I was excited when people took on a lot of shots, but I wasn't thinking about the end result. And that's another thing, is always be focused on the end result. When you're making decisions, think about what it's going to look like in the end. And are you divided by shot? Are you divided by scene? What is the flavor you're going for? And communication in one place. I already talked a lot about that, but that is really helpful. And the communication on this project was a lot easier than Shrek Retold, in the sense that all the communication was done in email, an email account that both Garfield and I had access to, so that it just made it easier that we weren't trying to check messages on Twitter, check messages on Tumblr, stuff like that. It was all in one spot. And speaking of Garfield, work with a partner. It was a pleasure to work with Garfield on this project. I hope to work with him on many more. Thank you, Garfield. And I would definitely say, if you're doing a project like this, try to find a buddy to work on it with. It just makes it easier in the long run, because people are going to have a lot of questions, and it helps if you have someone like Garfield, who's in the Discord constantly helping people answer questions. And the other thing I say, and I said this before, is listen to collaborators, because they have great ideas. The whole thing with the shots at the end, the characters at the end, the caricatures of each person, that was an idea by somebody on board with the project, because they were on a SpongeBob reanimated project, and they did that. A lot of these projects do that. At the end, they have, cartoon characters representing the each collaborator, and somebody recommended that, and I love that idea. So we did it, and I thought it looked really cool at the end. Because usually you don't want to sit through the credits, but I love to watch the credits on Sonic Rebuilt, just because you have this barrage of all these characters, each collaborator drawing themselves in the Sonic style. I thought that was cool, and I thought that turned out cool. And another thing I learned, which I learned on... I had to learn this lesson twice. And I'm not sure there's a solution for it. It's just... it reaffirmed this, that people don't read the rules. There's an overwhelming amount of people that submitted their scenes with the audio redone, which, thank you for going through the extra effort. The audio did was awesome, but that wasn't in the rules. I outlined that we're not doing that with this project. We use the original audio, and I think I also put that in the email too. But just be prepared that people will not submit. People are busy. They're already donating their time to work on this project. You can't expect them to hit each one of the criteria. And that's a lot of scenes were turned in with audio redone. A lot of scenes were turned in with, they were different timing. They were way shorter than the scene, or way longer. If they were way longer, that was easier to try to make them work. If they were way shorter, that was hard. And in often cases, I just slowed them down a little. Which that gets a little choppy, but it still works. And it helps to have everything in the same the same aspect ratio, certainly, but the same frames per second. And a lot of they were all different frames per second, which is difficult because there'll be like you'll put everything in, and a scene might be a frame longer, or something might be a frame shorter, just because it's a different frames per second. So with a lot of shots, I had to kind of duplicate the last frame or the first frame, or just I had to watch it a lot of times to make sure there weren't any black, like any black frames or anything. And that was really, I had to watch it a lot of times. Every time I did a cut, I kept catching little black frames that I missed, and that's because they were a different frames per second. So try to stress that everyone does the same aspect ratio and the same frames per second, because then it won't glitch out on you. And the same video format, which is difficult for people, because people are using Macs, people are using PCs. So a lot of people turned in shots, like 25%, a quarter of all the shots that came in were, I couldn't play the video file. I didn't know what they were. So I had to get really good at converting files. And some files I couldn't even convert. I had to upload them to YouTube and then download them from YouTube in order to convert them. I'm not the most tech savvy guy, but I have the Adobe suite. It comes with Media Encoder, and usually any format that people turned in, I threw it in Media Encoder and I could get a format that I was able to use. But some people are using weird technology, I guess. I don't know. So really try to stress that everyone submits their video files in the same format. It just really makes things easier in post. And if it's like one or two shots that you have to convert and try to time, that's fine. But when it's like the vast majority of the shots, you're converting everything and retiming everything, it's really hard to meet deadlines that way. But that's part of the challenge, post-production. It's a puzzle, and that's just part of the challenge, is making it work. There's always going to be obstacles that you don't foresee. Count on it. Count on there being problems that you don't foresee, and you got to approach those problems with a positive attitude. Like, I'll get it done. Like, oh, I didn't know I was going to have to take care of this, but I'll get it done. And the more things you do, the more little victories you are able to produce, the more self-confidence you're going to get, and the less stressed out you're gonna get, because you know that every obstacle I faced up until this point I was able to conquer. So bring it on. So do yourself a favor and keep a positive attitude, and finish what you started. Always finish what you start, because then you get better at turning down things, because it's like a punishment. You should finish what you start because it's just the right thing to do, but also because it's a punishment. If you take on too much work, then finish it all, and that's your punishment, and you won't do it again. But if you keep starting things and just dropping them, then you're never going to learn your lesson, and you're going to keep taking on more than you can do. So finish what you start as punishment to yourself. That's the best thing you can do for yourself. That might sound weird. I'm sure there's a better way I could have worded that. But it just helps create an attitude where you're able to finish things. And that's all the things I wanted to say, basically. I hope this helps. If you finished, the video's not over. Now I want to talk about Shrek 2 Retold, because I hinted at it a bunch, and I think I mentioned in my last video, but let me flat out talk about it. But if you watch this far in the video, leave a comment with the word love. Incorporate the word love into your comment in some way, so I know that you watched this far. And it's always fun for me to see who actually watched the video, because I'm always surprised. People do it, though. People do watch the whole video. All right, let's talk about Shrek 2. Now, that's such a difficult project for me to wrap my mind around, because there's so much attachments around the idea because of Shrek 1 Retold. I should just call it Shrek Retold. But at the end of the day, I approached it with a fresh mind, and I think I explained this earlier, but I didn't start Shrek 2 Retold. It was started by some gentlemen in the 3GI Discord, and then I was kind of giving them pointers, and then I ended up finding myself in the director's seat again. So it's all good. I'm working with Garfield again, and Connor's on board. I talked about him before, and those guys are a pleasure to work with. And yeah, we've been getting a lot of cool people on board with this project. I'm always paranoid that the audio stops recording, and it's just, I'm just looking at it with fresh eyes, like the first one, where we're just, remaking the movie, getting cool artists on board, and I'm excited to really jump into that, because that was kind of on the back burner for me, because I was finishing up Sonic Rebuilt. But I'm not done talking about Sonic Rebuilt. I also want to put it on VHS, because I think that'd be cool. The only issue is it's the soundtrack, the original soundtrack. So I'm working on redoing the soundtrack, and again, I always want to do something different. So with this, I think I'm going to find voice actors and have them find somebody to voice a character and have it from start to finish, where it's like a cohesive soundtrack, so that it's different from Shrek Retold, where it's different person voicing Shrek every time we see him. So this would be like the same Sonic throughout, just to try something new, you know what I mean? I think that I just always want to try something new, and I really want to put it on VHS, because that was the first time I watched the Sonic OVA, and it's already in 4:3, like the whole movie's in 4:3, so I think that'd be really cool to just see it on VHS, because it already lends itself so perfectly to that. Yeah, it'll be like the ultimate nostalgia piece of media. And I should say that just talking about Sonic Rebuilt, how that was such a freeing experience, that movie is not as iconic as Shrek. Like with Shrek Retold, I try to mimic the storybook opening as closely as possible because it's so iconic. But with Sonic Rebuilt, it didn't have an iconic opening, and the same thing with the credits. The credits weren't iconic. The credits I try to stay close to the original Shrek and Shrek Retold as well, with like the medieval illustrations and stuff. But I felt so free to do whatever I wanted because, like with the opening I did for Sonic Rebuilt, I had so much fun doing that. I actually shot that the morning of the premiere. That was such a mad dash. But I took everything in my house that like represented Sega nostalgic. Like I had a Sonic doll that I got at Dave and Buster's a while ago. I had just like drawings that people made me and photographs. I put them on the wall, and I had like a Genesis that I hooked up. I just had gathered everything around the house and decorated this little part of my room, and filmed that with a makeshift dolly. I actually had the camera in a bin that was duct taped to a skateboard, and I just really slowly pushed in while I had these graphics play on the screen that was playing off a DVD. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, and I just felt free to do whatever I wanted with that because there was no expectations, and it just isn't as iconic. So that's like the plus, and that's the pros and the cons of different projects, and that's why I like to do different things, switch it up. So it's going to be interesting now to go back to doing Shrek, because yeah, Shrek is really iconic, and you can't stray as far. But I think ultimate creativity does come from having limitations in place, because that's creative problem solving. I remember somebody in school had a really good quote, and I think they heard it from a kid, but they said, being creative is when you don't know what to do. And I like that. Being creative is like a last resort, where it's like, all right, I got to complete this task, but I don't know how. There's obstacles. Now I need to think creatively. So a great way to do that is to place limitations on yourself, because then you can't go with your first gut instincts. You got to think about it a little more, but don't overthink it. There's a sweet spot. Yeah, I always battle on that. It's like, is your first idea the best, or is it like your 50th idea the best? You know what I mean? I think sometimes the first thing that pops in your head is the best method, and then sometimes you just think about it, and then after you veto 100 ideas, then you've figured it out what you should do. And it's just different case by case. Some things warrant that level of thinking, some things don't. That's just how it bees. So I'm excited to get to work on, really dive in with Shrek 2 Retold, because I think now we're kind of establishing a genre, and after you've established, we can kind of play around in it and see what kind of things happen with it. There's not much I really have to say. We're getting swamped with emails of people that want to get involved. All I can say is feel free to ask to be in it, but right now it's invite only, just because it's too overwhelming. We always want to stay faithful to people that we've worked with in the past, but we've also always want to, reach out to people that we've never worked with before. And, if you don't get in on this project, don't worry. We're going to make a ton of these. And a great way to get involved with all this is to join the 3GI Discord, if I may. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the Discord is great too, but I meant the Patreon, if I may suggest that, because it's more intimate, the Patreon, especially in the Discord, because there's a special channel that you can only access if you're a patron, and I talk more freely about the innards of what's happening with 3GI in there, because it's a more intimate community, and I'm always giving updates and video updates like this of what's going on, just because it's like that, the inner circle. So if you want to join that little club, $1 a month, that's all you got to do. Just $1 a month, and you're in there. And I understand this is like crazy times. I probably should have talked about this at the beginning of the video with the whole, the pandemic going on right now with the coronavirus. So if you're not able to I feel so dumb asking people to join a stupid ass Patreon when the fucking world is ending. So if you're not able to financially afford to join the Patreon. Don't sweat it, man. I totally get it, and these are crazy times. Hopefully this stuff blows over. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's kind of freaky. I think I'm fortunate enough that I work from home. This is my workspace, and I've been self-quarantined for like 2 years now. So, it's just life is normal for me. But this has been like all my friends. Like this has been fucking everyone up. So I feel for you if you're experiencing craziness right now. But we're all in this together. I think more than ever people are coming together. I think you see a lot of that when shit hits the fan. It's like, all right, guys, we need to kind of come out of our shells and work together on this. So good things happen. Good things happen. Now, I need this video to be an hour, so that when people tune in, it seems like I actually did do a Sonic 2 Retold. I don't know if I'm gonna trick people though, because with the April Fool's video for Shrek, that was like a year after release, I think. But this is like a month and a half, 2 months after release. So I think people are gonna know that I'm not able to work that quickly. Let's see, 15, 55. How long have I recorded? Oh, it's pretty close to an hour. Let's just sit here for like another 10 minutes just to be sure. Oh, I know what I can do. I sent out a tweet this morning saying, theoretically, if I were to talk about Sonic Rebuilt, what would you want me to talk about? Let's see if anyone said anything. Nobody said anything. Oh my god. Oh wait, yeah, there is. Nostalgia Boy says, insert self-promo for Stepping on Toes Restomped. Do you guys know who Nostalgia Boy is? He's a fan of 3GI, but he's wild. I don't know what to say. Mobster Dolphin says, cutting room floor. Let's talk about that. There was a lot of unused stuff for Shrek Retold, but even more was a lot of unused stuff for Sonic Rebuilt. And that's because it was so imperative, because we're using the original audio, and the timing had to be exact on this. There's a lot more leeway with Shrek Retold because we were redoing the sound. It was just a total remake. But this, there's more limitations in place. So a lot of people would submit. I think the reason Mobster Dolphin suggested I talk about the cutting room floor is that he was a person that did consecutive pieces, and then I had to go in and replace some of his shots. And I felt bad for doing it, but I did it for a couple reasons, because his shot wasn't the exact length of those shots, and also in the original piece, you could hear something, but it wasn't happening in his scene. So that happened a lot, where people did a piece and you could hear something, but you weren't seeing it visual, and that creates kind of a dissonance. Is that the right word? Dissonance? Something like that. So if I end up doing a VHS for Sonic Rebuilt, which I want to do, I'll have a digital download packet with all this stuff that was cutting room floor, which there's a lot. And that'll be fun to look at in itself. And I apologize if you were on the project and I replaced some of your shots and I didn't inform you. I try to do my best to reach out to people to let them know, but there's often times I wasn't able to. I'm kind of disorganized with my notes, and that's not an excuse. That's just me admitting guilt. Jim says, your feelings, because I genuinely care about them. I'm feeling well, Jim. I hope you're doing well. Jim is the manager for Shrekfest, and he runs the Shrekfest Twitter. He's an epic guy. Yeah. I feel good. Tovar, the awesome, says, honestly, I want to know what it's like going through all the applications and sorting them accordingly while they're still coming in. Now, we did something interesting with Sonic Rebuilt, where like I said, this was an experiment for me. I wanted to be free. I just wanted to do whatever. It didn't have to be good. It just had to be fun to work on. And usually the funnest thing, at least for me, is just saying whatever, whatever, whatever. And in the early stages of working on these kind of projects. And when people's asked to be a part of this project, we did not sort through them. If somebody said, I want to be a hold, let me be in it, and they didn't even submit anything for us to look at, no portfolio or anything, we said, sure, go for it. It was first come, first serve, period. Unless your email was incomprehensible. That happened a lot, where I couldn't make heads or tails of your email. I think it was just a bunch of little kids getting their hands on their mom's iPad. But yeah, people that reached out on Twitter and stuff to be a part of this project, we opened it to the public, we didn't sort through applications. So that was a process that's non-existent. It was just whatever. You want to be a part of it, go ahead. So that was really fun for me, just to let everyone through the floodgates. Griffin Ashley said he's got a green M&M profile picture. He wants to know about the pain of having to just sit around and wait for finished. This is salty. The pain of having to just sit around and wait for people to finish their piece when they're late. That wasn't painful for me because I wasn't sitting around waiting. I was actively communicating with people and trying to create deadlines. And that's the thing. If you're late with the project, but you're upfront about it, if I have to ask you while you're late, that's kind of bad. Nobody was in trouble, and this is just for fun. This isn't serious business. It's just goofy YouTube videos. But it's always better to be the person to reach out first and say, hey, I'm going to be a little late with my project. Is it okay if I submit it on Sunday instead of Friday or something? That's better. Don't be the kind of guy where it's like, hey, are you still in on this project? Oh, yeah. Man, I don't know. You don't know what? What? Do you need more time? I guess. Do you have an estimate of like when you think maybe you're going to be wrapping up your shot? No. I have no choice but to drop you if you have that kind of attitude. That's tough love. I'm not trying to be salty or anything, but this is tough love where the world doesn't work like that. You can't have an attitude of, your life is going to seem really unbearable for you and everyone around you. I'm not trying to be mean. You gotta be, oh shit, okay, this thing happened. All right, I know what to do. I'll do this. Oh, now this obstacle. That's okay, I'll do this. Oh, this obstacle. That's okay, I'll do this. Oh, this obstacle. That's what life is. Life is a game of dodgeball. Get ready, you know what I mean? We've all had to play dodgeball in school, and you can see, I'll admit, I was the kind of kid that's hiding in the corner in dodgeball, and that was something I learned early on. You can't be like that in life. Life is going to seem unfair. It's victim mentality. You gotta, even if you suck at dodgeball, I'm gonna suck and everyone's gonna know I suck. Be like that, you know what I mean? I'm gonna fucking try to catch this ball. Oh, I got hit in the head. Everyone's laughing at me. Oh well, I tried. You gotta be ready for that. Try to catch. Life is all about balls, I guess. What a weird metaphor, but you know what I mean? You gotta, you know what I mean? You're only on this life for a small part, so just go with the flow. Go with the flow. Get ready to get your hands on some balls. Let's see. Any other questions? I think that was it. Those were good questions, though. Thank you, guys. Yeah. But this overall, I love doing these kind of projects. They're fun, and yeah, there's no end goal in mind. It's just to create art, create movies that we're proud of. They can sit on YouTube. You can show people, oh, check this out. I was involved with this project. It's just a fun thing to show people. I like watching them. from time to time, you know, just to remember all the cool ways people are creative and stuff. And that's what it is, just like creativity, like all these different ways that people look at the same thing but from different angles. That's always fun to me. So I hope to do more of these kind of projects, and I hope to, you know, if you're watching this, I'd love to work with you, especially if you watch this whole video. That's nuts. You're nuts. Maybe this makes good background and noise. Maybe you fell asleep to this. I don't know. Well, I think that does it, man. I think I was recording long enough where like the whole video will be at least an hour, and I think we're gonna trick some people. Did I trick you? Let me know if I tricked you too. I think people are smart enough where they're catching on. All right, let's wrap it up. Thank you for watching, guys. I will talk to y'all later.